Good evening and welcome to the studio this evening. I do like that play on words. But there again, I thought about it. Okay, so we are going to do some more of this lion. He does look like he's wearing a very funny collar at the moment, doesn't he? Hopefully we're going to do something about that in time. Otherwise... Anyway, we shall carry on where we left off, which is sort of doing fur. So, let's grab this pen. For, as in his mane, this area here. Trying to make it look like very sort of fine, I won't say fluffy hair, but certainly long flowing fur. Yeah. Blimey, there's something in that pen. Don't know what it was, but something was caught on that pen. Claire, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. I trust you are well. Right, so it really is just a case of drawing lots and lots and lots of lines. I'm still not 100% certain about this method, but it's slightly better than the other method of using the edge of the it looks better than using the edge of the shader tool, which is how I created the fur on the face. It just sort of looks too rough for the mane, which needs to be quite whilst it's relatively sort of coarse, lots of shapes, it's really fine hair, and it just sort of looks too rough. That's the best way I can describe it. So I am hoping that this will layer on top of each other and create something that resembles the fur a lot better. The trouble is I've got an awful lot of it to do. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully that will pass. Especially when you start working for yourself, which isn't too far away now, is it? Or has it actually started? I can't. I know you'd handed your notice in, so. Hopefully you're starting to look forward to that if it's not started just yet. December the 17th. Okay. That's a long notice. Or did you pick that day specifically? Oh well. I can understand that. It's just getting things clear in your own mind, though. Once you do that, hopefully you'll be better. I don't mean it will bother you less, is what I mean. I tend to have somewhat of a pragmatic outlook sometimes, and I know occasionally it annoys Lady Zara a little bit because I very rarely worry about anything. It's kind of, if I can affect it and I want to, then I do, and if I don't, there's no point in worrying about it. And I know Lady Zara cannot understand that sometimes. Oh yes, I recall. I will wish you good luck in getting whatever you actually want to get. Really, I'm not sort of getting the look that I'm after here. It's I'm hoping this is going to just turn out okay. Aldel H, good evening, welcome to the studio this evening. Well, it's different areas of the wood reacting differently. This here is going brown really quickly, which is not what I was after, and I've got to be careful about not cooking in the pencil lines. I'm doing okay, thank you very much, Aldel H. Struggling with getting a look here that I actually want, but the pencil lines, yeah. It's just graphite, so yeah, I can erase the graphite, no problem. I can't erase the pyrography quite as easy, but yeah. I think you just didn't realise I was erasing pencil. Oh, graphite, not exactly pencil, because it was done with the trace down, but yeah, just generally sort of outwards. So I am just trying to do fairly random air directions. It's sort of fluffed out, so if anybody doesn't know why I'm rubbing out the pencil marks, is what happens is the pyrography. When you effectively what you're doing is cooking the wood, so but it sort of, the brown stuff is like a liquid glaze that's on the top, and if I don't erase the pencil mark first before I put pyrography over the top, then what happens is it sits over the top of it like a varnish, and you can see the pencil line through it, and you can't erase it because there's varnish on top of it. So I always have to keep remembering to remove the pencil lines before I put pyrography over the top of them, so that I don't permanently cook that mark in where you can see it. Again, I'm making an attempt to be somewhat random. I do say an attempt, it is actually really hard to be random. Thank you, Moobot. Nice to see you around tonight. Okay, this is just wanting it to be sort of hair in all sorts of directions. Generally sort of sticking up sort of directions, but just generally you're not particularly smooth. And again, make sure I erase. Probably in most cases, like with the hair, you probably wouldn't see it too easily, the pencil mark, if I didn't cook it in. But some other areas where it's very light, then it definitely would be visible, and you know, if it happens, it happens. But you know, it's just one of those things that potentially distracts from the image itself. And Body's always, well, hopefully he's always around. He sometimes does seem to take a little break now and then. Getting the optimum speed for doing something like this actually is, there is an optimum speed, because ideally you want to move the pen fast enough to create the mark that you want without it going too dark, so you're not applying more heat than you're after. But equally, the other thing about it is it creates a little blob if you're not careful when you start, so you have to treat the pen almost like you're landing a plane. It's moving before you actually touch down, and if you do that, then you don't get the blobs. So I'm trying to find an angle where I can see this without glare, and you'll just see it without the blobs. Yeah, what it is there is, okay, that wants to be the other tip. I just need to swap tips. Sorry, we've got some fur starts to be, I want some stuff from there. I want some fur to start to be visible here. I know that sounds daft because I was doing fur, but sort of the facial fur. It's around here where the fur starts to transition into the mane itself, on the top of the head anyway. Okay, that's not too bad. And welcome back, Aldel H. I am having real problems with this light here at this point. Make it just a little bit difficult to see what I've applied and what I haven't. I'm sorry, I'll set this away and just... the lighting is not doing me any favours at all here at the moment. MTS, good evening and welcome. It's coming along. I'm not sure nicely. I'm experimenting with fur or mane texture. I'm not really happy with the mane, and some of it at the moment is shading because he looks like he's sticking his head through a bucket or something. But the face I like. The mane, no, I just got my words in a mix. I didn't quite say MTS and didn't quite say something else either. I am really sort of just struggling a little bit with the mane. It really feels like it should be. I should be using sort of. If I was drawing it with a pencil, I'd be doing a really fine pencil and doing lots and lots and lots and lots of lines. And it's just I've sort of tried that with all 3 different tools now. This is about the best, but I'm still not greatly liking the result. But it could well be it's just that I don't have enough of a result yet. No, that's true. I mean, that's the whole point. It is the first time I've done the lion, so I am really pleased with the face. I almost kind of wish I'd just done the face and left the rest. But, you know, that's just how life goes. If it doesn't work, I've learned something. I'm struggling with my lighting though at the moment, I really am. Well, if I ever get to rage quitting with it MTS, I may just consider that. At least I'd be less inclined to cause damage to the flagstones outside the house when it goes through the window. Unfortunately, the planning permission won't let us do that, but it would be an idea. We've kind of know that wouldn't fly over here with the planning authorities, but plenty of space in the garden. I have more than once thought about putting a rather large, I was going to say shed, but I don't mean a shed. I mean a sort of a really log cabin type, that sort of construction, you know, well constructed shed, if you see what I mean. You know, waterproof and heated, and you know, so you don't get humidity and stuff in there. Bribes and kickbacks. Doesn't work over, well, as far as I know, it doesn't work over here. We are in what they call a conservation, not a conservation. I was about to say conservation area. It might not be the words I'm looking for. But it means that they look at everything. I mean, even if you want to trim a tree, you have to have permission. So no, I guess it'd be something similar to that MTS historical district, in that you know, they are in theory seeking to preserve the character of the houses, which are what to call it, an arts and crafts style, which is really amusing in a way, because the arts and crafts style is one of everything looks different. They mix and match things together, and so if you put a brand new construction on an arts and crafts house, you're actually in keeping with the arts and crafts style. But they want it to look like all the other arts and crafts houses, but arts and crafts houses are not meant to look the same. So it's quite funny in a way. But yeah, it is that sort of idea. I've thought about putting a proper shed out in the garden before, but for me, I kind of like being connected with the house. If I have to go out in the garden to go out to a shed, so you have to put a coat on, lock the doors up, and mess about like that, it's more of a case of I'm not sure I can be bothered. Whereas if it's just a case of walking from one room to another, then which is why the studio is inside, so to speak. It's part of the house. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Must be a conservation. You know what? I've spent that long relatively speaking, that is, dealing with understanding those rules and regulations as to what you can and can't do, so that we understand with builders and architects and things like that. I'm sitting here thinking, why can I not remember? My brain sometimes just goes boom. and I often say sieves hold more than my brain does at times, because it's something as simple as what do we call that area that we live in, and gone. No, but I would love to for that to have been true. Pocket's an expert. It really would be nice. You think all I need to do is start talking about happy mains and happy years and things like that? Oh, that would be really nice, MTS, but unfortunately it'd be a bit cold when you got here, but thanks very much. Happy little big cats. Happy little big cats. Yeah, that sounds good. These days I do have, I think I mentioned it the other day, I do have a Bob Ross kit. I've had it for quite a number of years now. Lady Zara bought it for me, and I'm not even sure the paints will be okay, but the rest of it will. And I am looking forward to one day being able to try it and see whether it's just as easy to do these happy little clouds as he points out. And I was watching, as mentioned yesterday, wasn't it? I was watching a few of the episodes, and they're just, the results almost look like photographs of totally imaginary scenes, and it's kind of like, I wish I could do that. Even if it was just to make up a scene like he does. I'm never very good at completely imaginary things. I always have to have at least some reference, just to get me sort of going in terms of things like perspective and stuff like that. But I guess the premise is it's partly is just practice, but partly is just do it. Don't be afraid of it, really. Yeah, 30 minutes. That was the thing yesterday, wasn't it? He did this beautiful picture and he did it in 30 minutes. He did it in 30 minutes. I'm spending hours and hours and hours doing this, and he did that in 30 minutes. I mean, he's fantastic. I mean, there's no question about it. But yeah, but when you look at it and you go, but what would he do if he spent more than 30 minutes on it? I mean, it looks absolutely fantastic with 30 minutes. Never mind, it's almost as if he spent more time on it, it'd spoil it. Type of idea. I mean, I don't know if that's actually true or not, but really is sort of a lot of stuff like that. I mean, apart from the fact that Bob Ross pictures must sell for tens of thousands of pounds or dollars or whatever, euros, it's kind of like, if you could paint one every 30 minutes that good, you could make a fortune. 3D Bloke is supposed to be having a go at doing a paint along with Bob Ross sometime this week, which I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that turns out. I thought shipping it from the States was sort of more or less anything was under about $10. Shipping from the UK costs a fortune. International shipping starts at about $15 basically for almost anything. I don't know if they look complex as they are, LDLH, but you know, obviously, you have a look, see what's out there. Just talking about Bob Ross MTS and just how you know his pictures look so damn good in 30 minutes. I mean, in some ways, it would be fantastic if I could do some pyrography, a really good picture in 30 minutes. But then I'm also thinking, you finish it so quick that you've got to do more to enjoy it. If you see what I mean. So I'm not quite sure whether it's better or no. I know what you mean. Don't know, MTS. I mean, when you watch the programs, there doesn't seem to be any continuity jumps. It does seem to be real time-ish. I mean, yes, there's slight differences in as the camera switches and things, but I don't know. I literally don't know. Again, it would be kind of yeah, it would be kind of disappointing if it really did take him 30 hours to do one of those and they just compressed it down. Yeah. Yeah, I get that way as well. Well, not so much if I don't get done in a stream, because half the time I don't get things done because I'm just talking. But when things sort of really seem to take, you know, longer than I would than I would think, or I really feel something should be a lot quicker than it is, and then I get sort of that frustration with it. This is going to need a fair bit of shading to change the planes a little bit, but I could LDLH, but then I'd just have to do something else on the next stream, and quite frankly, at the moment, I can't afford to start a new piece every stream or something like that. Whether I was streaming or not, it's kind of like if I sit down to do something, then yeah, if it's not progressing as fast as I think it should, then it's sort of slightly frustrating. It doesn't matter whether I'm streaming or not, really, to be honest. I mean, all the streaming does is give me an excuse as to why it hasn't taken as long. So it hasn't. taken as quick as I thought it would. Yeah, now that yeah, I can understand that frustration, MTS. I mean, I'm lucky I don't have to do that, but in the business where I worked then or do work, then in the past I've had to spend, well, we spent millions of pounds basically sometimes on bids, and then when you don't win them, that really is frustrating. Yeah, unfortunately, with shipping from the States, it's a bit expensive. But if you happen to have been in the UK, you could have bid for some work for me. we part of the building work will include new kitchen, so it would be nice to have sort of some decently constructed stuff. But in some directions it looks like really fine lines, and when I look in a different direction, it looks like I've been doing it almost with a marker pen. Good evening, Fluffy Twiglet. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know about the robbing bit, but it's we have that same sort of dilemma from the other side at the moment, because it's we're going to spend a fair bit of cash, and if you give somebody money up front, it's kind of like, am I actually going to get it back? You know. Or are they just going to run? I'm not saying you do this, but yeah, are they just going to run off with the money, or just disappear, or not do it, and things like that? So it's kind of you know, the more pricey things get, and of course that's the problem with decent work. You're talking about pricey materials and things like that. That from the other side, it's as a person selling stuff, I want my money up front. As a person buying stuff, I don't want to pay for it until I've got it. LDLH, no, I have no idea how to do the main. I'm just doing it and seeing what happens. Oh, I see. You're trying to get them. Yeah. The budget. How much do you want to spend? Well, how much is it going to cost? I don't know. It depends on how much you want to spend. Well, I don't know how much I want to spend until you tell how much. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I follow. I follow that now. I'm a little. Yeah. I did mention I was a little bit slow today, didn't I? Uh, hmm. See, that makes me uncomfortable. MTS. If there's a written contract, then if I've signed that contract as asking you to do something, then you have every right to expect me to pay for that. If I want to change something, then me as a person at this end, expect that you will want to change the price, and it might work either way, up or down. But if it's up, then I'm going to have to pay for it. If you've estimated wrong, yeah, then that's your problem, type of thing, But if I've changed something and I've just decided I want gold taps, or whatever, then yeah, I expect to have to pay for it. But yeah, no, yeah, everybody, I have that same thing. But you'll have it with the bowls. I'm sure people think that they take about 10 minutes to do. And it's the same with things like this, or even even that jewellery. I still have people saying, that text, oh, why does it cost for what this one is? But I'll make something up and say it's £20. Why does it cost £20? Well, you do realise it takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to make that, and then there's the materials but people are going, but it's only a few rings. You just knock them together, don't you? Okay. And I'm gonna say you must have the same problem. Everybody thinks it's things take such a will take a shorter length of time, and the other one I get is can't you make it cheaper? Yeah, no problem. What's your job? Are you a lawyer? Okay, you're going to work all week for me for 10 quid? No. Well, why do you expect me to do that? Okay, thank you, MTS. You think my prices are good? I think I need to get faster to make those prices good, but at the moment I'm not making a living off of it. Don't need to make a living off of it, so I can be a little bit more flexible on costs. But thank you, the hair looks awesome. I'm glad it looks better on stream than it looks in person. Can I say? And I've just had a thought, if I'm going to do this with a dark background, I'm going to have some real fun when I come to do this area. Yeah, there's when I first started airbrushing, there's I've forgotten his name now. Organic Image is the company in the UK, And he used to be on forums and things. And the thing I always remember him is telling a story where he was doing a nightclub, and he was painting a mural on a wall. You know, you can imagine it's a 30-40 foot long wall, and so it done the layout on paper, and then transferred that to an electronic image, and he was using a projector to put it on a wall, so you could trace it onto the wall, and then you can spray from over the tracing. And the club owner, he said the club owner came up to him and said, "Oh, that's how you do it, is it? So what am I paying you for?" And a beach, something over there. And he turned around and said, "Here's the airbrush. Carry on." Basically said to the bloke, because the bloke then was trying to sort of say, "Well, what am I paying you for?" And he basically said, "Well, you don't want to pay me, I'll go. Trace things on the wall, you do it yourself." I am trying to do that, Aldel H. It's not reacting like a pencil. It's not quite reacting. When you put a pencil mark over the top of another one, you'll get a darker spot in the middle. You kind of do with pyrography up to a point. There's a couple of things that sort of happen, and one is you get the lines so close to each other that they're no longer lines, it's just marking. And the second one is it's kind of like you can only apply so much heat at a certain point without turning the heat up on the tool. So although I can slow down, I still only sort of, it's as though the colour has been capped at a certain level, and if I slow really down I can probably get it to go quite dark, but then you lose the spontaneity of the hair, which is a fluid movement, so I end up having to turn it up. But if I turn it up, then I've got other problems. I'm having I'm experiencing a challenge, and actually talking of that challenge, what we'll do is try something along what you've just suggested. Yeah, handmade pieces. It's time, and whatever it is, that's most handmade stuff. You're paying for the time. Isn't the material cost? There are times when material costs are significant, but quite often it's the time that you pay for, not so much the materials. Something like this. I mean, the material. I don't actually know what this material off the top of my head costs, but 2 or 3 UK pounds. I'll make that up. But when you've added 30 hours of work to it, not counting the investment in the tools, and not counting the electricity, the heating costs and things like that, but just the time, 30 hours, that's a week's work. And if you think, how much would you want to go out to work for a week and get paid? And it just, unfortunately, I can kind of understand it in a way. People are reluctant to pay that sort of money out, unless you're a famous artist. Now, turning that up will help. So I've just switched to using this other pen, just to try and do effectively what you were suggesting there, Aldel H. But it's having applied a little bit of texture just to try and change the colour using the pen as an overlay, sort of like a transparent overlay. So I keep the texture, but can make it a little bit darker. and sort of fill in between the hairs as well, because it kind of looks like really thick clumps of hair at the moment to me here, or string. It's as though it's been done with string, not with hair. Oh yeah, selling the lifestyle, MTS. Buy these things and help a struggling artist. Well, if you want to help this struggling artist, at least I do have a shop, which is there. And that's actually one of the items from it. The Lazy River is that one. Which also helps. It certainly helps in your case. That's... I think you know, your work and Poke Range is another one where the work is kind of so dynamic and fast paced in a way that it really suits Twitch and a lot of the people that watch it. And yeah, he hopefully you'll be the same as Poke Ranger in that you know, he gets quite a lot of work through Twitch. No, you didn't, Claire. Yeah, yesterday you just showed us three pieces that you'd done. You'd have to go. And I know what you mean, Aldel H, but they will still. You can't go deep enough, basically. Or you could, but if you go that deep, then you literally are carving the wood. You're sort of, if you like, on about taking like a knife, a scalpel, or a pointed bit, dragging it across and creating the scratch, and then putting the heat over the top, so you do the surrounding wood and not where the scratch is. But the heat is, it's at a localized level, it's quite intense, and the difference in height between the scratched bit and the non-scratched bit, it will make a difference, but not a significant difference. It might be enough to see a slight difference in the shade, but otherwise it won't actually achieve what you're suggesting there. You're better off actually doing it the other way, applying pyrography and then scratching through the pyrography, like I did here with Junior, for example, which is his whiskers. So the fur texture was applied, and then with a scalpel it's just scratched through, and then I applied pyrography over the top again, because I didn't want them white, I wanted them slightly off, or rather that's the white I'm using. So that's the an easier way of doing it. But no, I know what you mean. Thank you. Oh, well, I like the card as well, and the pyrography is not so bad as well, MTS. Yeah, unfortunately, Etsy's not working that well for me at the moment, but it's time. So anybody that's watching, if you want to sort of help out in a way, I don't mean go buy something, but I mean just go have a look and tell people about it, because things like Etsy, and check out MTS as well on Etsy for that matter, because traffic, views mean that your when people do searches, for example, it appears higher up in the search results, and yeah, it's more likely to appear in some of the advertising type things, like the emails that they send out, or on people's front pages and things like that. I am glad it does look 3D. That was that was the idea, of course. That's kind of my style. I do like things to look like, well, what I describe it as photorealistic. I mean, obviously it doesn't look like a photograph, but it looks three-dimensional. It looks like, you know, there's not black lines around things like you get in illustration styles and things like that. So that's the sort of style I prefer, a realistic style. But thank you. I do try and achieve that in all the things. Don't always. I mean, at the moment this one looks really odd, but Junior's probably outside at the moment, I think. He popped in for his tea, but he's having what shall we? He's having a I can't think of the word, but a period of time where he's deciding he wants to be out all the time. So he comes in for a meal and then disappears out. In a week or so time, he'll spend all his time in laid on a bed or something. You know, just when he finds some new thing. Oh. Yeah, I like that. I do like that. I'm not sure how on earth you managed to do it. You know, I'm pretty good at handling a scalpel with model making and things, but I am amazed at some of the shapes you managed to pull out of paper. I really am. They're absolutely fantastic clay. Talking of, well, that reminds me, I don't know if I've shown you this MTS. I can't remember. And of course you've got your bowl with the ring on it, so I cannot remember. I'm feeling I might have done, but my wooden chain. And it really is a chain, and it was made from a single solid piece of pine. And the links are square because it was easier than doing oval ones, but yeah. I used to try doing it out of matches, and I could make a chain out of a match, but obviously they're really tiny. And at one time, because they break very easily as well, I thought, blow it. It must be easier to do it on a bigger, you know, piece of 2x2. So that was the result. The bit that's fun about this is, of course, I've forgotten how long it actually was now, but for those of you that don't know, effectively it's made like that, and I can't hold these rings, the vertical rings. But when you make a chain like this, the wood you make it from is significantly shorter than the chain turns out to be. So it was probably only about 8 inches long. But by the time you've then cut everything free, it turns out to be sort of 2 or 3 inches longer. Maybe I'll have to do another one of those on stream, just for doing something on like that odd on stream. But they take a little bit of time to do. Actually, that's not a bad idea, actually. For the next time I do carving, I may well do just that. Create a chain. Just for the... Because I'm guessing there's not many people that have seen one made. There's a few of you watching. What do you think to that as an idea? Does it sound like a good one, or would you rather see something different? Hmm. I kind of feel like I really want a really fine tip on this, and that's kind of the frustrating bit. And the part of the problem is if I did have a really fine tip on this, I probably couldn't run it on this machine. If I turn this machine all the way down with this tip, I can still create quite dark lines, and the thinner wire would just get hotter than this does, so I'd be creating almost black lines with it anyway. So thanks LDLH. I think this is going to turn out to be, like, for some reason almost all of my art does. And that is, it's better from about 6 feet away than it is close up. And whilst the camera isn't 6 feet away, you are getting a view that is sort of resembling what it looks like from about 6 feet away. And I think this is going to be another one of those pieces. The face looks great close up, but the image as a whole looks better from about 6 feet away. Those ears need more work on the inside, that's for sure. Okay, let's erase that line altogether. And we'll go completely freehand down there. Ow. It is possible to sand some of it out MTS, though. One of the issues with sanding is it changes the surface property of the wood, as you're probably familiar with. I mean, in some cases it obviously raises the grain, but this wood is relatively smooth. If I sand it, obviously it gets smoother, and it changes the surface. So when I apply pyrography over the top, you can often, if I did a large area of sanding, you can see it stands out, which then obviously detracts from the image itself. I mean, if I was using it to try and put scratches into there, then yeah, fair enough. It becomes that is part of the art. But if I was using it, for example, to sand out a mistake, it might be a mistake to do it. In fact, actually, it's on. Where's that? The sort of the problem you get, don't know if you can see that just there where the light's reflecting off of. That sort of odd area. Now this is hardboard, which you'll be familiar with, and it's quite glossy surface. That had a piece of masking tape on it, which had been used to just hold this piece of wood to something else. And when and that's the result of the masking tape coming off. Now it's not showing up so much on the pyrographic side to it here, but I can actually see it in certain lights. It stands out quite visibly as a bar across the pyrography. You can sort of see it there, but it's just not showing up. But in sunlight, for example, it just stands out. So I always have, this, for example, I couldn't sand. It'd be impossible without getting that sort of effect. Obviously, this wouldn't be as bad on this. and I do pre-sand these anyway, just to remove most of the surface sort of fluff. But I don't sand them super smooth. Steel wool possibly, but you can't use wet and dry on it. If you do use, you know, the grey oxide stuff, I'm surprised you haven't come across it. But what I find when if I try using what we call wet and dry paper anyway, that grey oxide stuff, is it embeds the oxide into the surface layer and it goes grey. It might go smooth, but it goes smooth grey. And I've not tried pyrography over the top of that. It just looks dirty. Does the wood then? I don't like that look. Steel wool I hadn't thought about actually. That's interesting. Can't apply varnish before pyrography. Alright, well you possibly could, but you're then heating up the varnish with this. I certainly want to make sure it was something that wouldn't react to with sort of unpleasant chemicals for a start. But of course, you're burning the varnish, so I'm sure it wouldn't come out with the same effect. Well, afterwards, yeah. What you could, I'm not bothered about that one. That was a practice piece, which is why it's on the hardboard. Although I am starting to like that overall grey look with the hardboard for certain things, because it's kind of sunset sepia toned. Yeah, probably in that particular case, just an overall coat of gloss and then perhaps matte varnish over the top would get rid of that almost certainly. And you certainly wouldn't see it on the pyrography then if I did that. But you certainly, as you guessed, to fix the smudge on the unpyrographed wood, if you did apply any form of sanding, you certainly would have to varnish it. Otherwise, it would just make the area stand out more. Yeah. I mean, I was doing both that and the train. You know, the hardboard's cheap-ish, so I was kind of doing it as a practice. But I kind of half thought about doing, like as I mentioned. I think I mentioned it before, a series of pieces on things like World War II aircraft, or I know there's quite a lot of train enthusiasts, so a series of trains or something like that. But not got around to that yet. But then again, you know, trying to hardest thing with Etsy, and Etsy of course is all about handmade. So, but it's kind of what on earth should be the price of something like that? Because you know, as mentioned earlier, I'm not going to get the actual price of the number of hours. At least I don't think so. But then there's the problem of, especially on Etsy, of underpricing things. It's growing on me, that MTS. When I did it, I thought the undercarriage looked really bad. Didn't look really good at all. But it's another one of these things that's growing on me. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, that's the whole point in some ways. Yeah, once you sold one or two, it becomes easier, obviously, because you've got a benchmark. I really cannot recall seeing many pyrographic images for sale anywhere really that are handmade as opposed to being machine or laser, done with a laser. So no benchmark really. I'm kind of just, I really should just put them up there, but, and as you say, start high, you can always bring the price down, but has he? One-off handmade stuff. Your Amazon and my Amazon could be different, of course. I mean, I have also started to sort of look at the maybe selling stuff on eBay as well, just as another outlet, because some of the stuff like the jewelry which is made to order is there's not a stock problem as such, which you often would have, but so many sort of almost rules to go through. With eBay you have to be registered as a business and things like that, and it just starts to get so complicated. Yeah, have a go, MTS. I mean, especially with as you're doing it with your on bowls and things like that, you don't need you might want, but you don't necessarily need sort of the all the subtle shading and stuff like that. You can just go for pure black and white, and I'm assuming the pen you've got is a soldering iron style, and it is a lot easier just to use that as a black and white pen. But the trees and things that you showed me the other night, they're not too difficult to do. Now I'm saying that, of course, and you could equally turn around to me and say, doing carving out a bowl, not too difficult to do, and I'm looking at it going, yeah, right. But you can do exactly this stuff, MTS, with probably the sort of pen you've got. All you need is a fine tip to do this, because where I can turn the heat down, you can use speed. Now that's a little bit harder when you're not practiced with it, but if I slow down, I get a darker line. If I speed up, I get lighter lines. Now I know the pen that you're on about is probably a lot hotter than this, but you can just use speed in place of the finer control, so you're controlling it a different way. I use speed here as well, but I do have that additional level of control. And in actual fact, what you can do, if you get a dimmer, dimmer control, just like you would do for lighting. But plug the pen into it, you'll be able to turn the temperature, effectively turn the temperature down. And so I don't know what it's like to pick up a dimmer control over there in the States, but something like that may well give you an option with the pen that you've got. And if you can, and there's no reason why you can't, but if you create art like this with one of those pens, when you get something like this, you'll have no problems at all. Well, you've got plenty of wood to practice on. If you've got the confidence to try an image, go ahead. Otherwise, just practice some simple shapes like drawing a cube, or shading a ball. But otherwise, to start with, just try doing straight lines, cross hatching, cross patterns, straight lines, circles. Just geometric patterns just to start with, but just to get you used to how quickly the pen creates the colour, how fast you have to move it, and things like that. It's not a pen I'm familiar with, but 23 watts, yeah. Plywood is, well, for this sort of thing, plywood's better than solid. I mean, if you're talking about sort of inch thick solid, it's a different matter, like your bowls, for example. But plywood is more dimensionally stable for this sort of stuff than solid would be, at even sort of up to 1/4 inch thick, because of course you're drying the surface, which will tend to make it warp. 23 watts. I'm just trying to think. This pen here is probably only about 15 at maximum temperature, but this one will glow at that. The shaders, so this puts out about 15 watts maximum. This I'd probably burn this pen out at that, but so you're a bit hotter, but it'll also take a while to heat up, because I'm assuming it's a soldering iron style where the barrel contains the heater and the tip's on the end of it. Well, I certainly wish you luck in creating, and not that you need luck, but success in creating images and art and whatever you want to try with it. And one thing I have found before with doing hair-like stuff is it never goes in straight line, or very rarely goes in straight lines. There's always a curve to hair, and often it's a wavy curve, and so you can get quite hair-looking marks just by doing lots of curves that overlap each other in different places. Which is what I'm doing here. I'm not particularly trying to have any sort of hairstyle. I'm just trying to lay down lots of hair. I'm glad somebody else have inspired that MTS. Thank you. I'd certainly like to see what you come up with. One trick that you can do as well, because of course one of the things you're a cabinet maker as well, so tops and drawers and things like that. With that sort of, I'm making an assumption about the pen again, but you can burn accent lines into furniture. But what you might want to get to help you is something like a piece of angle iron, and it'd be aluminium, I guess, or a thick metal ruler, or a chisel, something like that you can run the pen down to create straight lines rather than trying to freehand it. But yeah, you usually can get, especially for the wood burner style, you usually get like little stamps and things. But often, a lot of what the stamps just allow you to just brand something. But all those little shapes you can create with a sort of a medium tipped, fine, conical style tip. Yeah, it's just like working with a pencil. You can draw any shape with a pencil, or you can get a stamp that just goes bang. Now down here I want this to go quite dark actually, and I'm contemplating running the other tip over the top of this just to see, or whether just to continue, just going over and over and over, because in doing so you sort of you still do create and despite what I was saying to Aldel H earlier, you do still create multiple layers of texture. One of the things being, because it's like a glaze that's on the top and you're melting the glaze as well, you do push it around and create lines in it, and so you do create an impression of depth. One of the things I always have to remember though sometimes with this is slow down. It's very easy to go really fast treating it like a pencil, but you don't get much heat, and therefore it doesn't go very brown. Because I've got this actually I've got it turned up a little bit, but if you don't slow it down enough, you don't create a mark. It is Aldel H. I'm playing about a bit still with it. I'm not. I'm working my way into it, shall we say? I think more than anything. Trying to understand what's working, what isn't working. Yeah, so it's good. Well, I think it start. Yeah, I think using that. Well, using that pen is the right choice. Whether it's worth, he says. Let me try it. Turn the heat up there a bit. Need a bit more heat on this. You see, one effect of doing this, which is then apply. I'm using the shader now. To sort of try and apply a darker overall tone to this. Is part of what's happening is I am smoothing out the colour. So I have lost some of those sort of hair marks in doing this. It's rather like ironing clothes, and I've taken away some of those marks. The question will be, what happens when I if I come back now with the other pen? Let's have a go. Let's see what happens. Go to contacts on this pen want tightening up. Yeah, some of the inside contact on this pen wants tightening. There we go. I don't know. I think we're going to just carry on experimenting with it, but it won't be tonight. We'll just carry on. Worst case is I'll ruin the whole piece. It's just a bit of wood and a bit of time. So, you know, I'm not that bothered about it. I guess I could always take a sander. If I sand all of it, then might have been a mistake doing the really well. I like the idea of sort of a really heavy light on the face, but that might have been a mistake with these really strong shadows, because then the implication is the back here is really dark as well. But I don't know, we're going to have fun trying it nonetheless. So thank you everybody for excuse me, for watching. It has been where's my mouse gone? There it is. With 3 monitors I sometimes lose the mouse altogether. I'm going to say thank you everybody for watching. It has been fun having you around and chatting, and I hope I will see you all again in the future. If there is anybody watching that isn't following, then yeah, I'd like you to push the follow button, but that's okay. You can follow me on Twitter if you would like a notification when I go live and you don't believe Twitch will do that for you, @Zeraganart, or I'll be going live again tomorrow around about 8 PM UK time, 2000 hours UTC / GMT, which is about 2 hours ago. So that time tomorrow. Are you streaming tonight, MTS? Whether he is or not, anybody that's watching, recommend you check out MTS. Works with a lathe, doing wood lathe work. Absolutely fantastic to watch, and quite fun to watch as well. So and I'd love to see how you get on with that tomorrow. Okay, well maybe tomorrow we'll get to see some of your pyrographic art. Thanks very much guys, hope to see you again in the future, and bye for now.